Al-Jaafari, the so-called Independent Commission of Inquiry on the Violations of Human Rights in Syria, is biased and was founded for a hidden agenda. Units of the Syrian Arab Army and armed forces continue to strike terrorist hideouts in several areas across the country, killing numbers of them and destroying their weapons. Russia, the Syrian Arab Army is the real force combating terrorism, and Washington's training of gunmen in Turkey is suspicious. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Irado Kikorian with the news in English. Syria's permanent envoy to the UN, Bashar al-Jaafari, said the Syrian government has always expressed reservation on the work of the so-called Independent Commission of Inquiry on Syria, which was formed by the Human Rights Council. Following an informal meeting held by Security Council with members of the so-called Independent Commission of Inquiry on the Violations of Human Rights in Syria, al-Jaafari said at a press statement that this commission is biased and was founded for political purposes and a hidden agenda which serves those who support terrorism in Syria. He said the informal meeting was held outside Security Council, thus it only represents the opinions of those who talked, pointing out that the commission has never visited Syria and it depended on testimonies of some persons who live outside Syria, particularly those who live in camps of Turkey, Jordan and Lebanon. Al-Jaafari added that the Commission carries out policies and opinions of some dominating sides in the Human Rights Council and Security Council in order to distort the image of the Syrian government, who has prepared a book of 500 pages which includes information about the foreign terrorists who were killed in Syria during a month, mainly October of 2013.
The Syrian government, as you know, has always expressed its reservation vis-à-vis the work and undertakings of this so-called commission established by the Council on Human Rights. The Syrian government did so because from the beginning we said that this commission was established for political purposes, to serve a hidden agenda of the handlers and masters of the terrorists who are targeting Syria the government, Syria the country, and Syria the people. This commission has been biased from the beginning. It didn't visit Syria. It met only with people who live abroad and claiming to be opponents. And it did ignore always, until now, all the reports submitted to it by the Syrian government. If you go through the report of the Commission, you would see that it reflects the standpoints and the points of view of the so-called opponents outside of Syria, in the camps and elsewhere, in Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, and elsewhere. But it did neglect to mention any word on the thousands of papers and information and the plenty of information we provided to the Commission as a government for years. So this in itself indicates how biased this commission is. Therefore, we think that the commission is an integral part of the problem and is not a part of the solution of the crisis in Syria. The commission has been used by the influential guys in the Council of Human Rights, as well as in the Security Council, to harm the image of the Syrian government and to diabolize the actions of the Syrian government while dealing with this war of terror launched against Syria and the Syrian people and the Syrian government for 4 years. This is a book, an unusual book, 500 pages, elaborated by the Syrian authorities on the foreign terrorists killed in Syria in the month of October 2013. 1 month, 2013, October. Foreign terrorists, only foreigners, coming from the same guys who are supposed to represent the Security Council and the Council on Human Rights. with photos, names, nationalities. These are some of them maybe were used as witnesses by this commission against the Syrian government. Many of them came from Jordan, who assumes the chairmanship of the Council on Human Rights, as you know. Many of them came from Saudi Arabia, from Libya, Tunisia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Australia, USA, Britain, France, Belgium, England, Germany, Italy. Who else? Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Lithuania, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Egypt, Palestinians, by coincidence, Lebanese, Canada. These are the Syrian opposition. These people, these foreigners, are the Syrian opposition that the Americans call moderate Syrian opposition. They are Australian, but they are moderate Syrian opposition. You like it, you dislike it, this is how the Americans present it. So these are Syrian legitimate opposition, democratic opposition, peaceful opposition. They may be Pakistanis, but they are Syrian opposition.
Russia expressed doubts about the agreement recently signed between Washington and Ankara concerning training of the so-called moderate Syrian opposition on the Turkish territories. The spokesman for the Russian Foreign Minister, Alexander Lukashevich, said that despite making public statements on the necessity of settling the crisis in Syria politically, in reality the US and its allies are pressing ahead with their policy of supporting those who want to achieve their objectives in Syria by force, regardless of the huge number of victims and the suffering of civilians. Welcome back. A civilian was killed and 11 others were injured as terrorists targeted residential neighborhoods in Aleppo city with rocket shells and explosive cylinders. Huge material damage was caused by public and private properties due to the terrorist attacks. Earlier, 2 civilians were wounded in a terrorist attack by 2 rocket shells on residential neighborhoods in Lattakia city. 1 rocket landed on a house in Al-Hamam neighborhood, injuring 2 civilians and causing material damage to the house. The other rocket fell in Al-Thawra street, leaving material damage. After stepping up operations in Al-Qunaitira over the past days, the Syrian Arab Army units continued hunting down members of Takfiri organizations in Al-Qunaitira, inflicting more losses upon their ranks in Al-Qunaitira countryside. In Idlib, units of the Syrian Arab Army and armed forces carried out special operations against terrorist organizations in the countryside of the city. A Syrian Arab Army unit targeted and directly hit dens of terrorists in Taftanaz in northeastern Idlib, leaving many of them dead, in addition to inflicting losses on them in equipment. Another Syrian Arab Army unit killed a number of terrorists and injured many others in Al-Yaqubiyya village in Jisr al-Shughur. Military operations continued in Abu Duhur area to hunt down the fleeing members of Jabhat al-Nusra terrorist organization in the surrounding villages and towns. In Aleppo, terrorist Ramadan al-Dagestani, one of the leaders of al-Nusra Front, was killed in Al-Mallah farms in the northern countryside of the city. A Syrian Arab Army unit raised a gathering of terrorists in Attila area, southwest of Palmyra, in the countryside of Homs city. A military source said that many terrorists were killed and others were wounded during the operation. More members of Takfiri terrorist organizations were killed in the Syrian Arab Army's strikes on their gatherings in the villages of Unq al-Hawa and Msherfe al-Shamaliya in the eastern countryside of Homs. In Hama countryside, the Syrian Arab Army unit targeted a terrorist gathering in Al-Latamina village, causing the death and wounding of many terrorists. Syrian Arab Army units managed to seize control over Al-Danaja village, which constitutes a strategic point through which the Syrian Arab Army can target the terrorists who try to infiltrate in the city. The operation was preceded by killing large numbers of terrorists in Til al-Fatima in southeastern Damascus countryside. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia would be able to reply in an appropriate way to any external pressure. Meanwhile, President Putin's media advisor said that the Russian Security Council will hold an emergency meeting to discuss issues related to the implementation of Minsk agreements on southeast of Ukraine. With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news, Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.